What's going on, guys? Thank you for stopping by Western.ops. Are you in the market for a new shooting rest? It's something I've been thinking about, and I finally made a decision, and I picked one up. This is a Caldwell Stinger shooting rest, and there's a couple things I want to talk about and go over some of the highlights and what my first impression is of this actual shooting rest and why I went for this shooting rest in particular. So stay tuned. So as you can see, this is a shooting rest that I went with. I've been looking around for a while. It's something I've been wanting to get for a couple of different reasons. One of them being, so when I'm in the middle of doing load development, I would like to get something that's a little bit more stable in holding my rifle. I felt like getting a shooting rest would help me out, and at least it can show me what the rounds are capable of. And then once I get rid of the shooting rest, or once I'm not using the shooting rest, I'm shooting off the bipod, at least then it gives me a baseline on what I should be expected to get or what the possibility is to get. And then also if I get a new rifle or try out some new factory loads or something like that, at least this gives me a stable platform to shoot off. So that was the idea behind it, and that was the reason I wanted to get one. So if you're in the market, at least you have some ideas or some questions to ask yourself on which one you want to get, and it might help you lean towards either getting this one or something a little bit more heavy duty. So first off, this is a shooting rest, not a lead, and there is a difference between the two. Typically the lead sleds are heavy, so when you're having a heavier platform shooting off of, it actually reduces the amount of recoil that you feel as a shooter. And from what I'm shooting, that's not something that I needed. I didn't want to go with something that's going to reduce the recoil. I just wanted a stable platform to shoot off. Now, the shooting rests are typically a little cheaper than what the lead sleds are, just I'm guessing less material. They're not as much of a hassle to carry around. Usually they're a little bit more lightweight. Some of the lead sleds work with different bags that you would put on, weight bags. Other ones have little containers in the front that you can actually fill with sand or water or different material to weigh it down. I didn't want to get something that was heavy and I had to lug it around. I wanted something more lightweight and easier to move in and out of my truck. That was the reason I went with a shooting rest. The recoil is not a problem for me. I don't mind the recoil, and I wasn't trying to mitigate that. That was the reason I went with shooting rest over a lead sled. Now, when I was looking for shooting rest, there was a couple of different ones. I was contemplating which one to get. For me, it's not something I'm going to use all the time, but when I do need it, I wanted something that is decent and stable. So this one kind of checked that box for me, where it's not the most heavy duty out there, but it's definitely not the cheapest. And with the MSRP, I think of $102, it wasn't that expensive either. And that was another reason I went with this one in particular. Just to help you guys out, I'll leave some links to take you over to where you can find it. So when I'm using it, I'm going to use it for a couple of different rifles. This one actually is adjustable. If you have a shorter rifle, you can have it all the way in the back, how it is here. And if you want to shoot a little bit longer rifle, you just have the cam locks here. You pop the cam locks, and you can actually slide this forward and backwards. So it does move back and forth, so you can use different size rifles, different lengths and stuff like that. So that was one reason I went with this. I'll set up a couple different rifles. It's pretty sturdy, so it actually made steel. It came unassembled, so you had to assemble it yourself. And it was really easy to put together. It took me maybe about 15-20 minutes tops, and I took my time. I was BSing with my wife as I was building it. But basically I went through and put in all the screws, and I think there's about 8 screws. I put them all in hand tight. And then once I had all the screws set up and I had the whole form set, then I went through and I tightened everything down. It does come with Allen keys, so you don't have to buy any additional tools. Everything you need to put together comes with it. The shooting rest comes in at 29 inches long and 13 inches wide, and it sits at 11 pounds. So it's pretty lightweight. It's not bad. It does have rubber feet on it. I'll touch a little bit more on that later. And then with the head unit, which when you do get it out of the box, the head unit is fully assembled. In the instructions, it tells you how to put the head unit together. So I don't know if they changed that around just because people were having problems or anything like that. And there is some literature about spring assisted inside the head unit, or I don't know if it's a spring lock. A normal rifle is not going to push this down just from the weight of the rifle and the recoil. I didn't have any issues. There is a screw right here that is a tensioner for how hard it is to lift this up or how much resistance this has in it to stay up. I didn't mess with that. I just left that the way it was. With the head unit, you have 3 inches of elevation for the front of your rifle, and in the back you have 1 inch of elevation. So pretty much you want to use this for your your hasty adjustment where you want to get close. You use a rear foot to get your fine adjustments to get on target. It has another feature that I like about it on why I went with this one. A couple of the reasons I went with it. Another reason I went with it is with the framing, how it has the split bars here in the middle. It works great for AR platforms or any kind of magazine fed rifle, and also your lever action as well. This piece right here in the front that actually holds the front of your rifle is rubber, and same with the rear. There is no straps to lock it down. The rubber does give a good amount of grip to your rifle. It does slide a little bit, but not a whole lot, and typically you're sitting behind the rifle, shouldering the rifle still. So your shoulder is what's going to mostly keep it in place. And then, yeah, with the rubber texture, it's not going to mar up your rifle or mess up the paint job or your... Oh, and the last feature on why I went with this one, I've seen a lot of different ones. And usually, if they don't have the split bars or one bar off to the side, and usually the rifle will sit on one side or the other for magazine-fed rifles. Well, a lot of those are made for right-handers. I myself am a right-hander, but I'm left eye dominant. So if you notice in all my videos, I'm always shooting left-handed. It's something I figured out when I first picked up a rifle. So I just got accustomed to shooting left-handed. And when I had to learn how to shoot, it was all the same whether I learned right-handed or left-handed. So I just chose to go left-handed and made it easier on my eyes. The one feature that is a little bit inconvenience for me versus a right-hander, where if you're right-handed, you're not gonna have any problem with this. If you're a left-handed shooter, be aware of this, is your knobs on the left side of the platform. So when you have your shoulder behind the stock here, it's a little bit of a stretch to get to this knob. Versus if you're a right-hander, you have your whole body to flex around it. Left-hander, you're kind of locked. So I usually use my right hand to work the dial. Either I'll come underneath or from the back, I'll come in this way and then work it that way. Every once in a while, I did reach around from my left hand. It's not a deal breaker for me, but it's just something to be aware of. When you're moving the head unit back and forth, you do have the cam locks here, so you can lock it into place. And these are adjustable. There's the Allen key or Allen screw on the bottom, so you can adjust how much tension is actually on your head unit to stop it from going back and forth. They didn't have any kind of instructions on how tight to put it. I try to make it where it's not extremely tight, but tight enough where it doesn't slide. With the rubber feet, they are smooth on the bottom, so you don't get the ultimate grip on surfaces. You'll see in some of the footage that I roll in right now with me shooting, it does slide a little bit, and that was something I noticed, but it wasn't that hard because your rifle's in the same elevation. If it does move off your point aim a little bit, it just took a very little amount to get right back on your point of aim. And it was really stable. When I was shooting this, I used my AR with some hand loads that I know of how the accuracy is, and it was pretty good. I think I'll show the video right here, but it was right around MOA. It was right around an inch group with 10 rounds, and 7 of the 10 were all touching. And then I had 3 flyers. Now I reloaded myself. It could have been my ammo. It could have been, my tension. There's a lot that goes into when you're reloading your ammo. So it could have been something I did on the reloading. It could have just been my rifle. It could have been a couple flyers. Who knows what it is, but it is what it is. So I'm gonna throw a couple rifles on here and show you the difference and how it is user friendly to use with different rifles. So this is my 308 rifle. It's a Remington 700 AACSD. It has a primary arms 3-18 scope on it, but it's sitting inside the Magpul stock. It's a Magpul Hunter 700, and as you can see, it fits just fine. It makes it real easy to go up and down with this. It makes it a little easier to go down once you have weight on it and stuff like that. But with the rubber in the front, the Magpul has a little bit beefier stock in the front than some traditional rifles, but it does grip it really nice. It does get a really nice purchase on it, and then with the back piece, it gets into place pretty well. So that would be this rifle. I'd probably run it all the way to the front and then lock it down. And then once you lock it down, it's not moving. With a little bit of force on your rifle, even if I don't even put that much force. It slides a little bit, but it takes a lot. So that would be more of your traditional style long range rifle. And I would probably use this for doing some load development if I wanted to change out my load or anything like that. You can see it fits on here really nice. It's not something I'm planning on shooting. I'm not planning on using the rest every time I go shooting. It's more of just doing load development, or if I need to test any kind of accuracy or something like that. So that's primarily why I got this shooting rest. But let's move on to the next rifle. The next rifle we have up here, this is my 224 Valkyrie. I just got this in for review. I should have a review coming out with this shortly on how this upper is doing. But this one actually has a fairly slim handguard on it. I think it's an AIM Sports handguard. So it's a lightweight, very slim handguard. And I have a bull barrel on this, a 20-inch barrel. And as you can see, I mean, it's not that much thicker than barrel. But even with that, it still gets a nice purchase on it, where if you try and move it, I mean, it pretty much grips it pretty well, even being a smaller handguard and being metal versus the plastic. And something like that, you just put all the way down. But as you can see, I mean, it fits in real nice, and you would have it a little bit more extended. But what if you have shorter rifles? Let me show you that one. So here's my 16-inch AR. I have a 9.5-inch Geisley rail on this, so it's a little bit short of a rail. And if it was just one set, it actually wouldn't even fit on this, and hence why I got the adjustable front headpiece. So really, if I just take it off, pull it down, lock it down, and then now it fits there good. And I have it set up where I do have a Picatinny rail in the front for my bipods. But if I had the Picatinny rail right in front of the front rest, it actually will grip onto the front end of it, and it keeps it so it reduces the amount of little bit of slide that it has. So you can always adjust your buttstock too, where depending on where it hits, because of the way the AR platform is, it will lift and drop the back of your rifle if you need to shoot downhill and stuff like that. I had to mess with it a little bit, but I was shooting downhill and it worked just fine. So as you see, this is a shorter handguard, and it still fits really nice just moving this back. So having that little bit of travel that you do get, I can see really would help out. All right, guys, so this is actually not even a rifle. This is a pistol. Which, I mean, I guess in some cases it will work for a pistol. But this is my AR-15 10.5-inch pistol build. And as you can see, even being a 10.5-inch pistol with, I don't even know what this rail is, but, you know, obviously it's a lot smaller than some of the other ones. It still fits nice. And so this is not something where it's like I'm going to be shooting with this setup all the time. When I actually do my accuracy test for this pistol. But as you see, even having a 30-round mag installed, it still fits just fine in there. There's nothing that's going to get in its way. If you do need to drop it though, you will have to lift up the firearm to get the magazine out and then to put it back in as well. So other than that, it's just fine. So you've seen in some of the footage I rolled in of me shooting it, I was able to get some really good groups with this. There was a little bit of movement. It wasn't a whole lot of movement, and I was shooting off a very slick fold-up table, the hard plastic, and there's not much texture to that. With the feet are slick on the bottom. There's no texture or anything like that, so it doesn't get a lot of grip. So even like on this kind of surface, it does slide pretty easily. If you're shooting prone or shooting in the dirt or shooting off concrete or rougher material, I think it would get a lot more grip to it. But on the slick surfaces, it does slide around a little bit. So keep that in mind if you're going to decide on going with this route. So when I did take this out for testing, shooting my AR platform, 16-inch barrel. So you can see from right here with the group size of the photo, it got really good groups. I mean, it was really easy to get back on target. It didn't move around that much. I was still able to see my target during impact, but it just took my point of aim off just slightly. I would say looking through at my target, it probably took me off of maybe an inch from where my point of aim was. So it wasn't even bad. And as you can see from the group here, it was a really decent group. I mean, I'm happy with that. 10 shots at just under an inch. And I believe I was shooting about 115 yards. When I set up my target, I went out a little too far and I didn't want to go back to change it. So I just shot at 115 yards. So if you have any questions about the Caldwell Stinger shooting rest or any of the firearms you saw in this video, go ahead and ask your question down in the comments, or you can get a hold of me at Facebook or Instagram. Any of the social medias, you can get a hold of me. I'll respond to you. Just leave me any kind of question that you have and I'll get back to you. If this is something you're interested in, I would suggest it. I'm going to be happy with it. Just after the first shots, I think it's going to work just fine. So if you like the video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. All that stuff really helps out. Stay tuned for any more videos that might be coming up. There's a couple rifles that I need to get a review out on, and also a couple optics that should be coming out very shortly. So until next time, guys, I'll talk to you later.